In this second class, I'll teach you the process of creating VFX animation using Blender geometry nodes in a way even beginners can understand. Hi, I'm 3D creator Hiroshi Kanazawa. I'm involved in film production, 3D CG animation, and graphic design. I'll teach you how to create effects using geometry nodes and how to place the effects you created in a scene, so you can create two types of cel-shaded animation. I'll explain the basics of 3D CG and procedural modeling using geometry nodes, step by step through exercises. Once you understand the characteristics of each node, you'll learn node configuration techniques that will give form to your imagination and gain the skill to adapt to future developments and environments. To make your work pro level, we'll cover key points of animating with 3D, such as how to configure rendering settings, and I'll give you tips for compositing. Through this class, I hope to share with you my knowledge and expertise about the geometry node function in Blender. I'm 3D CG creator Hiroshi Kanazawa. I'll be waiting for you at Colosso.